Hi, I'm Brooke Erdman, and a MeatRx coach, a carnivore coach here. And I'm going to talk to Matt today, who's also a coach, did some coaching. And he's going to explain and share with us his carnivore journey. Hi, Matt. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing good. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. And thank you again for taking the time out to share with us what it's been like for you. So, how did you How did you come about eating this all meat diet or all animal food diet?
So for 11 years, for a bunch of medical reasons, I've been doing intermittent fasting and keto, low carb. So I was carnivore-ish for a number of years. Um, and then in the last 2 years, because of doctors like Dr. Mark Hyman, Mercola, Perlmutter, Dr. Jockers, Dave Asprey, and other people, I cranked up the veggies because I've been keto and intermittent fasting and I've had success. But I'm like, man, I need tons of veggies to do it even better. So for 2 years, I've been cranking up the veggies with a meal prep guy because I don't know how to make veggies taste good. And if I was going to eat way more, I found like an amateur chef guy who's super cool. But then COVID hit, and then he stopped for a few weeks. And when I went to the stores, even if I was going to do it myself, like just go back to frozen veggies, everything was gone. And I had heard of the carnivore diet. So I was scared of COVID. I don't want to take risks. So I went right before the store closed and I just grabbed ribeye, ground beef, and eggs because there was no fruits or veggies. And then I came home and I ordered Dr. Sean's book and Dr. Paul's book because I'm a geek and I want to understand what I might be doing. But I was like, I don't know if COVID's going to make shopping hard. Maybe I'll just do this carnivore thing for a month because I didn't think this was going to go on for 3, 4 months or this might go another year. So I was shocked to read their books and find out that this isn't about taking any veggies, any nuts or seeds, and just sort of then dove in. And I mean, that's how it started because of COVID. And the books were super convincing, both of them. And I talked to my doctor about it, the doctor that did put me on intermittent fasting and keto, and he was totally cool with it. Because he had even asked when I increased my veggies if it increased some of my problems. But yeah, so that's how I stumbled onto it. COVID, didn't want to shop. And now I have a meat company that you can order ahead of time. And I just go pick up my ribeye, my ground beef, and they have Scottish salmon. So I just pick that up once every 2 weeks and that's what I eat.
That's awesome. Sort of stumbled into it with COVID. That's great.
Yeah.
So then when you started just eating beef and not eating these vegetables, what were some of the first things you noticed?
My digestion feels way better. And it's not, so I do have digestion problems and I have pelvic floor and unfortunately, I have some incontinence issues and these are why I do intermittent fasting, but it makes my stomach feel way better, which also improves any potential incontinence issues. Um, I think my cognitive function got better. My appetite goes down. The longer I'm on it, I don't even feel like I can wait till 7 p.m. to eat, even after working out hard in the morning. My blood pressure's gone down. Some of my chronic pain, I have chronic pain from a bunch of botched surgeries and inflammation. And in the last year, I've had a knee issue, which I've never had a knee problem, but cracked cartilage, runner's knee, chondromalacia, I think it's called. My knee was swelling up on and off this year. Being on this, my knee hasn't been an issue. Did I mention my blood pressure dropped kind of significantly, which I was shocked, and so was my cardiologist. And I've dropped 17 pounds.
Wow.
And I mean, for people that know me, like I didn't have 17 pounds to drop. Like I was probably 8 to 10% body fat. I've been super fit. And so I wasn't doing this to lose weight. And the funny thing is, when I finally stepped on the scale initially, and I don't know if it was 4 to 6 weeks in, I was down like 10 pounds. And I told the strength coaches, because I'm around strength coaches at a private performance facility. I'm like, guys, I dropped 10 pounds. What the heck? I didn't notice it because it wasn't like I had body fat to lose, but also when you're a man and you lose 10 pounds and now 17, if you're already lean, usually you lose strength. And I don't train maximal strength anymore. I'm 45. I'm not doing anything where I need to compete, but I can push heavy numbers for more reps with less rest. And some of those numbers that I can rep out have increased even though I've lost 17 pounds. So you just feel way better. You're less hungry. You don't have to eat as much. And I don't know if this matters to other people, but I don't go to the bathroom as much. And again, I have incontinence issues. So if you're not bulked up with all that fiber from eating so many veggies or fruits, whatever you might be doing, trying to be healthy, you just go to the bathroom less. And for me, that's like a huge blessing.
Yeah, that's great. Um,
Yeah.
so specifically, what were you eating before? I know you were probably eating mountains of cruciferous vegetables because that's what was
Yes.
happening in the keto world. So were you eating lots of vegetables? Were you also eating meat-based or?
Yeah. So what I would do is the first 2 meals of the day, typically, so they would be meal prep, and I would have them do 1 serving of meat and then 2 portions, healthy portions of vegetables, 2 different kinds of vegetables. And so maybe at 4 to 5 p.m., I have one of those. Then 2 hours later, have another one. So I have 2 servings of meat with 4 servings of 3 to 4 different veggies. Because, right, you're supposed to have tons of variety of veggies for antioxidants, your microbiome, all that stuff. And then at night, again, because the last 2 years I got on the heavy veggie kick, I would fill a bowl full of broccoli and then I would cover it in nuts and seeds because I wanted my fat and my protein, but I was like, oh, I got to do more vegetables, but I'm going to get a bunch of protein by putting tons of nuts and seeds and bacon bits on it. So that's what I was doing primarily when I was being good. There's periods where, I'm not being good, but that was my normal diet.
Yeah, when you think back at that now, when I think back at that now, and I've eaten that way before, I just think, oh, my stomach. I could just think of the discomfort
Mm-hmm.
of eating a big bowl of broccoli and nuts. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally
Well,
get it.
here's the thing is in the last 3 or 4 months, when I do cheat, because the first month there were times before I got down where to get my meat, because shopping was like really bad the first month of COVID, and I didn't find this meat company that I get everything from now, other than the eggs. Sometimes I would get the one restaurant that was open, I would get a big chicken salad, and something that before I may not have noticed. Then when I have a bunch of veggies now, then I notice like it doesn't feel good. And it might be like, so I started eating healthy in 7th grade. I was a freak about nutrition and working out, just loving sports. So I've been into this my whole life. And when you eat clean and you're on like the same foods, and then you go to a party and have some pizza and some cake or whatever it is, you're at a family event and you eat something that's not in your normal, you feel like crap emotionally, your stomach, the next day you can be bloated, your fingers are chubby, you're holding water. And it's funny to go get a chicken salad, even if it's from an organic place, and go back to, I got some Brussels sprouts, I got a salad, I got some grass-fed beef, very small portion. So as again, more veggies and some meat, and then not feel good. And then the next day almost feel like that was naughty, even though it's not that naughty, but it doesn't feel as good for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It's so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we all, we're sort of led to believe that the more the better when it comes to vegetables, especially green vegetables.
Yes.
Yeah. And so inflammation sounds like inflammation really went down really quickly for you. And of course
Mm-hmm.
the digestion was better. And you said strength with and I would think probably did you notice a difference in recovery since you're really active and weights?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Because I think also and tie it into say the nights I had a chicken salad or, I had veggies and meat again. It's not placebo. I'm very sensitive because I've been on like my whole life. I'm super sensitive to what workouts I'm doing, recovery methods, what supplements I'm taking. Some of the inflammation comes back. Like and which will increase your pain if you're sensitive to chronic pain with some of the issues I have. So, and then you don't feel as good in the gym the next day if you're not feeling as good from the meal you ate the night before.
Yeah.
And again, like that's part of the shock is 10 pounds, now 17 pounds. And I'm lifting more weight for more reps and also shortening up the rest times. And if we had a before and after, before COVID and after, I might look similar. I was just 245 before, and now I'm like 228.
So
So
it must be more shredded. Must look more shredded.
I could, but I couldn't tell the difference because at 245 I looked big and muscular too. But unfortunately I was going to do DEXA scan, but everything's closed because of COVID. But there is DEXA scan around here, so I would have loved to do DEXA scan before and maybe 1 or 2 months after. But I've had to drop body fat because I've maintained strength, like, and increased strength. And
which kind
yeah,
of goes against what, the popular belief about all that, for sure.
And even me as an athlete, my whole life, starting in 7th grade, and this is even what they would teach, and even now in sports nutrition and strength and conditioning, you have an athlete that needs to put on weight, it's more calories and eat more often, and make sure you hit your protein numbers. I do not count anything. There's days I'm not hungry. If the ribeye was big enough for my first meal at 5 p.m., I may not eat something else.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can't see me on this, but I don't know if you link my one bio page. If you've seen that, there's a picture of me that I'm not a small guy. So I'm not worried about eating 6 times a day or hitting 200 or 400 grams of protein. And I'm a big dude and I'm still really strong for a 45-year-old. So it goes against a lot of what sports nutrition says. Like, oh my God, you got to freak out, have your protein shake within 20 minutes of your lift. Eat before bed, right? Eat before bed so you don't chew your muscle up at night. Eat as soon as you get up because fasting is chewing up your precious muscle tissue, or at least have a shake right away. And if you're not going to eat, have a protein shake. Like, I'm not getting weaker or losing muscle by only eating 1, 2, or 3 meals in a very short amount of time. And I'm not even counting how much protein it is or fat.
That's great. I the other day I said, I like my meme. I said, keto's track and carnivores sear. Yeah, really, it's just about eating the meat. So, how are you eating now? What are you eating now?
So it might be boring to other people, but it makes it so simple to me because I'm not a big chef or cook guy. So, first meal of the day is a ribeye, and the meat company has been so nice. I get grass-fed, grass-finished, pasture-raised ribeye from New Zealand. And I get grass-fed, grass-finished, pasture-raised ground beef and the Scottish salmon that's sustainably farmed. And I buy organic eggs. So I'm trying to do not the factory farming thing and be responsible. So first meal is a ribeye. And then 2 or 3 hours later, I either make a couple burger patties, so 1 or 2 pounds of ground beef, or I've got to the point where I just make it on the stove, kind of like I put the ground beef in a pan and just make it like taco meat and just put it in a bowl and cover it in salt and just kind of eat like a bowl of ground beef. And then if I'm still hungry for a third meal right before bed, and I wouldn't advocate other people do this if they're doing fasting, but because of my issues, I don't eat till much later in the day when I'm done working out or socializing. But I'll have either scrambled eggs or an 8-ounce piece of salmon. So it's just basically ribeye, meal 1, ground beef, meal 2, and scrambled eggs or a piece of salmon for meal 3. And that's it.
Nice, very nice. So you're satiated with all that protein and some fat. So were you, in implementing this, were you missing the vegetables, the fat bombs, that kind of thing?
I never did fat bombs, but I did miss initially the broccoli because I just got hooked on broccoli because it was supposed to be so good for you. And who knows, maybe it is. I'm not even going to get into an argument, but I was crushing so much baby broccoli and regular broccoli. And that's when I before I got into this pattern that I just told you about and found the meat company, I would get a salad every once in a while, but then wouldn't feel good. And then the longer I went on it, then the more I'm like, I don't even want to do that salad. So it's probably like anything else. You know, you're going to have your cravings. And I can't speak to somebody that's going cold turkey from the standard American diet. But I think if you're already somebody, if it's somebody that's already on paleo or Mediterranean or another low carb or keto, and they have discipline, you know, whatever they might miss stuff for a month or whatever,
Yeah.
but
Well, you were
whatever your
so,
goals are. Go ahead.
sounds like you were so fully fat adapted. You've been keto for years.
Yeah,
So that was already taken care of. And you already were doing fasting, intermittent fasting, it sounds like.
yeah.
And so you just sort of switched over what the macros were. And those are only more satiating, more protein
Hmm.
than fat, so, or more protein. Yeah. So that's, and then your inflammation just falls away.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's
yeah.
really, so, so what were your, you know, what was the kind of feedback you got with your workout partners? Did you
Well, I
get,
don't work out with, well, there's people that work out around me and there's coaches. I mean, everybody's kind of shocked, like, really, no veggies? It's just hard for anybody to believe that, even healthy people.
yeah,
And I'm around pro athletes and strength coaches. So, I mean, they're doing the veggies or they're doing the rice, the baked potato, the yams, a lot of things that I used to do years ago as well. So we're just so programmed that you need your vegetables and your carbs. And even if you're somebody that understands that there's low carb and keto, people still don't understand you can't be healthy without vegetables. And I
yeah,
feel healthy and I'm going to do blood work very soon, and I'm just super curious what my blood work's going to look like too. But I have a hard time believing I'm more unhealthy if my digestion's better, my cognitive function's better, my mood's better, my pain with my chronic pain, and also inflammation that I can tell with my knee problem is better. And I can do more reps at the same weight with less rest because I kind of do things in a circuit now. I don't try to go hardcore squat and power clean and then move on to bench. Like, I'll do a bench and a squat back and forth and shorten my rest periods, but still be able to hit the same numbers or more reps and less rest, if that makes sense. So workouts get better, and I have digestion issues and I have the incontinence issues. So that's like huge for me. So if there are other people out there that have inflammation problems, digestion problems, chronic pain problems alone, it's probably worth trying it.
absolutely. I mean, with digestion problems, that means you're not going to be absorbing the things that you want to be absorbing. So you're right. Even though you're doing what you think is right, you're just not going to be able to get the things that you'd be able to be getting if your digestion was smooth and non-reactive. So that's one
Mhm.
of the things that you notice, and not to mention all the plant lectins and phytates and other things that block absorption of the things that you are wanting.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty huge, that switch from dropping vegetables. Go figure. Who knew?
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you could get people to read the books and the information on the website,
yeah,
and that's what I did. I mean, I read the books. If people are into the science and can get out over the emotion and attachment in our culture, even the functional and integrative medicine, which I love, that's pushing the high veggies. And I don't know what can hurt to try it for a month, because if you're somebody that has any type of chronic medical issue, um, or if there's people that need to lose weight, I mean, I don't know what would hurt to try it for 4 to 6 weeks and see your doctor if they're not super aversive to it, or don't tell them and do labs before and after and do a body fat test before and after. Although right now with COVID, it's difficult to get a lot of things done, but I don't see why people shouldn't give it a shot. And I
absolutely.
think discipline wise, so even if you're not a disciplined person, if you get over the cravings, it's just way easier. I'm literally steak, ground beef, salmon, and scrambled eggs for me.
And hey, those taste, they're delicious.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hardly a it's hardly a hardship to, to eat ribeye for your first
Yeah,
meal of the day. Do you drink coffee?
I do. So I guess that's not
No.
real carnivore, but tied into my incontinence issues. So I have had surgeries that damaged my pipes and damaged the nerves. So I have a bunch of complicated problems. So I get up, if I have to be somewhere at a certain time, 4 hours before that, I drink coffee and take all my supplements to try to clear myself out. And by the way, with the coffee, I get these are purity coffee beans, no pesticide, no mold, roasted at the right temperature, allegedly to have the most nutrients. And so I try to be super healthy, organic with that too. So I do have coffee, and I put maybe half and half or heavy cream. Like I'm talking the tiniest amount that I froth. Um, and I'm still in the habit, but I may drop, but it's been a habit for years afterwards. I don't like putting stuff in my coffee other than I might put collagen peptides. I do MCT, C8, and apple cider vinegar. I've just been doing that forever, so I'm in the habit.
You don't put the
But
vinegar in the coffee,
no, 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 I don't put anything in the coffee. I'm not into the bulletproof coffee.
just the cream.
Just the cream and the collagen peptides, which you can't taste.
Right.
After I enjoy my espresso, and then I'm swallowing my supplements, then I do a spoonful of the C8 MCT, a spoonful of the apple cider vinegar, just because a lot of people on keto and low carb do those things. So it's a habit, but I'm thinking about eventually. I've already dropped some supplements just because the two main doctors that are into carnivore are like, you don't need supplements. So some of my supplements that run out, I'm not getting. Some I'm probably going to stick with, even like vitamin D. If I'm getting my blood tested and my vitamin D is not where I want it, I'll probably keep taking it. But
So
who
what
knows?
were you taking, creatine, or you were taking
Yeah,
like,
I always take creatine. But I was wondering, because I'm eating so much ribeye,
yeah.
I lowered the dose just to save money, even though creatine's dirt cheap. But I may not need that stuff. And there's blood tests. One of my doctors does a blood test that I could do carnosine, creatine, and glutamine and all this stuff, but those labs are so expensive. If I had the money, I would do them to see where I am, and maybe I could drop some of that stuff.
So you take vitamin C and you drop that too?
I take a ton of vitamin C,
Do you
and
still?
every other week I get a big vitamin IV that has a lot of vitamin C, magnesium, the B vitamins, glutathione push, and I get an NAD shot. So I do take a lot of vitamin C, and in the pill form, I take vitamin C and quercetin, if that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
But I read that they said when you're on this diet, you utilize it better. So maybe I don't need it, but COVID's going on, and some doctors are saying that vitamin C intake, especially the IV vitamin C intake, has helped some people recover. I don't know. I'm just being cautious. And again, I have years of habits of certain supplements and the things like the MCT. And before that, my doctor had me on coconut oil 11 years ago. Before that was cool too. So
Maybe you'll slowly wean off that very expensive urine that you have.
probably, yeah, yeah. Because there are some I've dropped off and I haven't felt a difference. And
Yeah.
before there were some things, if I didn't take them, I could tell.
Yeah. So you're just being careful, covering yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've had immune system issues. I'm not freaking out over COVID because even with the problems I have, I'm probably healthier than most people. I'm a lifelong meditator, exerciser, clean eater, stress management. These things all help our immune system. But I had 3 years of really bad surgeries that led to a medical retirement, that led to the incontinence. And my immune and digestive system and my hormones crashed. I was on multiple opiates, muscle relaxers, 3 years of antibiotics, anxiety, depression meds. I hadn't seen a doctor since college football. And then I started getting these surgeries, and I was on so many drugs, and I trusted the doctors. And comes to find out the surgery that started all my problems, I should have never have had. John Hopkins and Cleveland Clinic said I should have never have had it. but workers' compensation doctors make their money on surgeries. So there was a time where my immune system was crushed. So I'm just being cautious with COVID and sticking with a lot of my old habits and routines.
Nice. And it's only been like 3 or 4 months that you've made this change of the plant foods.
Yeah,
Right? It's been
yeah,
3 or 4 months, yeah. And just improvements all the way. So you've got
yeah.
time.
I thought I was just going to do it for COVID. Well, I could because COVID's going to go for like a year at least, it seems.
Who knows?
I thought it was going to be a couple months.
Forever. Maybe, I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
You know,
And
when we
then
have
I'd go
like
back.
war on terror, that it's like such a lot of terror. If it's war on COVID, who could go on forever.
But I thought I would miss veggies and be like, oh, eventually I'm going to want to cycle back to the
Right,
veggies.
right.
And there are times, even when I'm keto, that a couple months out of the year, I'll do more paleo. And the only thing I add when I did paleo was I have a Vitamix and I love avocado and berries. And I would just throw like collagen peptides with avocados and berries because, again, fiber, antioxidants, fiber, antioxidants. But I don't miss any of that stuff. And it's just so easy to eat a steak.
Yes, it is. And you know, a lot of people, carnivore people, maybe once in a while, bring in avocado or something again. You know, there's no hard and fast rule about that. You get
Mm-hmm.
to tweak and see how you react. What's your situation with dairy? Do you use dairy food? Cheese or
I
butter?
love cheese. So there'll be times maybe on the ground beef, I'll put cheese, like if it's a burger or the bowl of ground beef. But I try to get, now I'm blanking. What's the grass-fed Irish company? Oh,
Oh, Kerrygold.
yes,
Yeah.
I try to get that.
I
Whether
mean,
that's
there's so many good butters out there now, actually.
okay.
But yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I do cheese, and it's never, even in the past. I know some people stay away from it, but cheese doesn't upset my stomach. It's never made me fat or caused any problems for me. So,
Yeah, it's, you know, when you can use cheese, it's a great addition to the carnivore diet, for
oh, so
sure.
that's approved by you as a
Oh,
coach? Like,
no, well, totally, because it is animal food.
okay.
It's an animal food, and that's really what carnivore diet is about. And then also sort of like tweaking and understanding how you're reacting, and it's useful. It could be a useful condiment or a useful fat addition. A lot of people don't like to depend on dairy, for sure. But yeah,
Scrambled eggs with cheese are good,
yeah.
and the ground beef or burgers with cheese, I don't know. I like it. So,
No, that's great.
yeah.
It's great. There's something about beef, you know. So it's so satisfying.
Hmm.
It's definitely, beef is my jam. It's definitely my favorite meat, that's for sure. So do you you eat fish or pork or chicken or?
Salmon. I've always been a salmon guy. And again, here's the thing for whether it's you're a bachelor or if there's a woman or a younger woman that maybe hasn't got her cooking skills up yet, it's not hard to grill a ribeye, like easy.
Oh,
And it's not hard to make a hamburger on the grill or to throw it in a pan and make like the taco meat. And salmon, I just got a cast iron skillet and 4 minutes on one side, turn off the heat, flip it over, 2 minutes on the other side. It's easy and it tastes good if it's good quality salmon. So it's, you do not have to be a good chef to eat like awesome tasting food.
this diet is so good that way. It's so easy to implement that way.
Hmm. Hmm.
So much time saved, and it's so delicious.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
did you ever get? Did you notice the past few months? Did you ever get Charlie horses or any cramping, like while you're sleeping? You know,
I
late
did
at
not. I
night?
read about that.
Mhm.
And if that's low magnesium, one, the IVs I get every other week have a big punch of magnesium. And in the morning, I take magnesium L-threonate, however you pronounce that, the magnesium that supposedly goes to your brain. And right before bed, I do take regular magnesium.
So
So
you
I don't
take
know if
plenty
that,
of magnesium. Does it have a potassium equalizer in those supplements? It's just straight up mag.
no. In the morning, I take a little bit of potassium. and I forget why. It was one of these many different doctors. I split it up for some reason. I take potassium in the morning, but I'm weaning myself off, like I said, because as I run out, I'm like, if I can save money on supplements, and I haven't had cramps, and I sweat. I'm a like a caveman. I sweat like crazy when I lift. And Tuesdays and Thursdays, I do a lot of interval training and I lose a lot of water, but I have not had cramping issues.
Great. That's great. Very good. It sounds like it was really kind of an easy, natural way to head for you
Hmm.
from doing keto for all those years with all the
Yeah.
mountains of greens. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what would you, so you're doing some coaching now. Is that, is that,
Well, now you can say I do some coaching. So I was, I hesitate to say this stuff because I don't want anybody to be turned off, but I was for a number of years a full-time police officer. I worked patrol, SWAT, peer support, which is like critical incident, and I was a full-time academy instructor for the strength and conditioning, the combatives, officer survival. And believe it or not, I was also a full-time Division I strength coach because I played college football at Air Force Academy in Colgate and was a competitive power lifter. I loved being a cop, but I missed the athletic environment. So I was a cop in Connecticut. I worked the midnight shift so I could keep coaching full-time during the day at Yale. And then I switched to the DC area because I wanted to be on a better area with better SWAT teams. And I coached at Georgetown. So I was a strength coach at Yale and Georgetown. And then here in California, I'm in Los Angeles. I moved here for functional and integrative medicine after I was
oh,
those surgeries. I was 270 pounds, wearing a diaper, 30% body fat, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, chronic illness. I moved here for functional and integrative medicine. When I got better, I've done strength coaching and sports psychology consulting for NFL Combine Prep. So I have 3 masters. I have a master's in forensic science, one in sports psychology under Ken Ravizza. If anybody's into that or baseball, Ken's like one of the grandfathers of sports psych. And I have a master's in pastoral theology and also an additional spiritual direction school, which is maybe coaching spiritually to some degree. And what I do now is all volunteer work for first responders and veterans. So I do kind of like police chaplain, peer support, wellness, and resiliency. And where all the coaching background comes in is those are hard subcultures to crack. Cops, firemen, even athletes, veterans. But I've been a cop, I've been a coach, I've been an athlete. And if I can ride along with them and talk about jujitsu and CrossFit or powerlifting and the protein shakes and carnivore versus keto versus paleo, it helps build trust and rapport. And I'm one of the guys, an older guy, but it just helps my relationships and then provides a platform if they're stressed out emotionally or spiritually to open up to me about things and get some help with that. And if it's beyond my scope, then I can refer them to other resources.
that sounds great. That sounds really great. Thank you for all your service.
Oh, it's an honor. It's an honor.
It's awesome. Have you used the MeterX platform much on like
I
the
have
meeting?
not.
Mm-hmm.
So since when I started this, because of COVID and now because of the last month, I'm really busy preparing for, we're trying to set up retreats for first responders, and I'm very busy with a lot of police officers are stressed out and hurting right now. So I'm busy providing a lot of support to people that are going through some tough times. Yeah.
Yeah, great. I'm glad you're out there doing that. I'm glad you fell into the carnivore diet too. I think it's such a surprising, amazing difference with just dropping plants. Who knew?
It's easy and it can make it cheaper too, depending on where you find your meat. Like I don't have to do the meal prep now, which was more expensive. Vegetables can be expensive.
It can
It's
be a lot.
simple.
It can be really cheap. You know, I have friends who just use ground beef and bacon and they're doing great.
Mhm.
It can be really, really low cost.
I don't advocate it, but in early years when I was still sick and not, I was really in bad shape. I did cold cuts and pre-made chicken and tuna and hard-boiled eggs, like the early keto. I wouldn't advocate that, but I mean, it's better than the standard American diet or fast food or restaurant food or a lot of carbs.
Yeah, I mean, plenty of people just go to Wendy's and McDonald's and just get the patties and do okay with that when they're running around. They just get ground beef, 100% ground beef and
Hmm.
do okay. Do okay. So it's interesting to know that that's even available.
Hmm.
Yeah. Which, who would have thought, fast food would have been a healthy kind of thing.
I don't know if I would push people to do the fast food, but maybe I'm a little bit of a snob with trying to eat clean meat. But if you're on the road, and when I'm on the road, I do what I got to do. Order the burgers without the buns, and
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Well, that sounds like it's a great path there. It's a great story. I'm really glad that you could influence so many people with something so simple,
Hmm.
with carnivore diet, meat healing, the idea that meat heals.
It does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really
And
does.
what guy shouldn't want to eat steaks? Like,
I know, I know, delicious steak and yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. Um, and so many people, think that meat is bad and evil. It's all been maligned and they're missing out. I mean, I missed out for years and years and years eating the nutrient dense food of, meat. I wasn't eating very much meat. It's a little bit of chicken or something. I can't stand chicken now. Chicken is just makes me hungry
yeah.
now.
Well, there's so many good books out there. I mean, besides Dr. Sean's book and Dr. Paul's book, my doctor had me reading all these other books 5, 10, 11 years ago I mean, it's so clear and they lay it out in their books. A lot of the times when people are condemning red meat, the simple fact is they're doing surveys of how much red meat people thought they ate, and they don't ask them if they had mashed potatoes, a
Right,
piece of apple pie, and a Coca-Cola with it.
right, right,
So people are bashing meat and not taking into consideration all the other junk the people were eating
right.
or the lifestyle habits.
And to hear you explain your diet for many years, which and a metabolically sound diet on with a keto diet, and it did include meat, and still you made this. There was this huge difference when you dropped those plants. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't mind being 17 pounds lighter. And if I'm
yeah,
still as strong, it's easier on the joints. And
yeah,
yeah, and who doesn't mind maybe having a lower body fat? Like, what the heck? I mean,
yeah.
I didn't do it for that, but it's not a bad perk.
Not a bad perk.
And you look at the doctors, Dr. Sean and Dr. Paul, they're like ripped doctors, So,
Yeah, it's pretty great.
yeah.
Well, thank you, Matt. This is great, great information, great story, and I imagine, well, let me just ask you one more thing. If you run into someone who's like, I'm thinking about this carnivore diet, what would you say?
Well, there's a few cops that do it, one in particular, and some of the other ones are paleo, the hardcore CrossFitters. Um, and some of these SWAT dudes actually tried vegan for a little bit when Game Changers came out.
Yeah,
So it's like, listen, if you guys will try vegan because of some documentary that's probably filled with propaganda, I never watched it. Why not do this for a month? It can't hurt for a month. Um, and again, I don't have kids in the house, so I don't know. Like, sometimes that comes up as an excuse. The kids or the spouse going to be on board or not? But it's so simple. And fasting, I think, is simple too once you get over the hump. So the hardest part is the first month, depending on where you're coming from. But if you're a strict paleo CrossFitter, why not drop the fruits and veggies for a month, save that money, and see what happens? And read the book or go to the website. So you're moving away from emotion because we are all too influenced by emotion in this day and age. So slow down, read some of the science, read the doctor's book, read the website, and just look at the science to try to hopefully convince you it's okay for a month to give this a shot. And if your nagging injury clears up some, or your maybe low-lying anxiety or depression, because whether people know it or not, I'm sure you're familiar, like our neurotransmitters are made in our gut. Our immune system is tied into our gut health. So what we eat does matter. Like, just give it a test run and see how you feel.
Good advice. Yeah. So I guess we'll just end it on that good piece of advice, Matt.
All right.
Thank you again.
No problem.
Nice to
Happy
meet you.
4th.
Happy 4th. All right. Bye-bye.